For centuries, enslaved Africans in Brazil appeared to pray to Catholic saints. But the saints were a disguise. Behind the Virgin Mary, they honored Iemanjá. Behind St. George, they worshipped Ogun. Their masters saw Catholicism. The enslaved saw a way to keep their gods alive. That hidden faith became Candomblé, and it survived long after slavery ended. The suppression of African religion in Brazil. From the 16th to the 19th century, nearly 5 million enslaved Africans were brought to Brazil. They came from many societies across West and Central Africa, including Yoruba-speaking, Gbe-speaking, and Bantu-speaking communities. They brought their languages, music, rituals, and religious knowledge with them. Portuguese colonial authorities expected enslaved Africans to receive Christian baptism, adopt Christian names, and participate in Catholic worship. African religious practices were often described as superstition, witchcraft, or a threat to public order. Slavery ended in Brazil in 1888, but religious persecution continued. Police raided African-derived places of worship, arrested religious leaders, and confiscated sacred objects. Laws against magic, spiritism, and unauthorized healing were often used against Afro-Brazilian religions. To protect their beliefs, Africans and their descendants adapted their practices to the society around them. Hiding African powers behind Catholic saints. One important strategy was to connect African sacred powers with Catholic saints. In Yoruba-influenced traditions, these powers are known as orixás. Each orixá is associated with particular forces of nature, human activities, or areas of life. Ogun, connected with iron, work, and war, was often associated with St. George. Iemanjá, connected with the sea and motherhood, was linked to images of the Virgin Mary. In some regions, Oshun, associated with rivers, beauty, and fertility, was connected with Our Lady of Aparecida. These connections were not fixed. The same orixá could be associated with different saints depending on the region or religious community. A person kneeling before the Virgin Mary could appear to be practicing Catholicism while also praying to Iemanjá. Someone lighting a candle for St. George could also be honoring Ogun. This method did not always deceive colonial authorities. African ceremonies were still discovered and punished. However, Catholic images gave practitioners some protection and allowed important traditions to continue. Over time, these images became more than a disguise. Catholic and African symbols interacted and gained new meanings within Brazilian society. What Candomblé is. Candomblé is an Afro-Brazilian religion organized around independent religious communities called terreiros. Each terreiro is usually led by a priestess or priest. Candomblé is not a single completely unified system. It includes several traditions, often called nations. The Ketu or Nago tradition is strongly influenced by Yoruba religion and honors orixás. Jeje traditions are associated with sacred powers known as voduns. Angola and Congo traditions honor powers commonly called inquices or enkisi. These traditions share some practices, but they have different histories, terms, and rituals. In Candomblé, sacred powers are connected with nature, ancestry, human activity, and different parts of life. Practitioners may have a special relationship with one or more of these powers. This relationship influences their religious identity and responsibilities. Ceremonies often include drumming, singing, dancing, prayer, and offerings. During some rituals, initiated members enter a sacred trance, understood as the presence or incorporation of a divine power. A terreiro is not only a place of worship, it is also a community center where people receive support, learn religious traditions, and build social relationships. Historically, these communities helped Afro-Brazilians rebuild family and social connections damaged by slavery. A religion preserved through memory. Candomblé has no single sacred book. Its knowledge is passed from elders to younger members through initiation, stories, songs, rhythms, ritual movements, and direct participation in ceremonies. This oral system helped the religion survive persecution. Sacred objects could be confiscated. Terreiros could be closed. Written records could be destroyed. But knowledge stored in memory, music, and movement was harder to erase. The survival of Candomblé therefore depended not only on secrecy, but also on strong communities that continue to teach each new generation. Why religious syncretism worked. Catholicism in colonial Brazil included a vast world of saints, and each saint was associated with something specific, a particular power, a profession, an illness, or a form of protection. This created an important possibility. African sacred powers could be connected with Catholic saints who appeared to share similar qualities. But enslaved Africans did not simply accept the religion imposed upon them. They adapted its symbols, they reinterpreted them, and they used them to protect and preserve their own religious traditions. Yet Candomblé was not simply an unchanged African religion hidden beneath a Catholic surface. The reality was far more complex. Some people practiced both Catholicism and African religion. Others understood Catholic saints and symbols through African religious ideas. And in Brazil, different African communities encountered one another, combining beliefs, rituals, and traditions that had once developed in separate regions. Candomblé was therefore two things at once: a continuation of African religious heritage and a new religion shaped by the experience of life in Brazil. Similar developments took place elsewhere in the Americas. In Cuba, African traditions contributed to the formation of Lucumi, often called Santeria. In Haiti, they contributed to the development of Voodoo. These religions share histories shaped by slavery, African cultural memory, and sustained contact with Catholicism. But they are not the same religion. Each developed its own beliefs, its own rituals, and its own institutions. From persecution to public recognition. Candomblé did not become legal through one law or on one specific date. Brazil's Constitution of 1891 formally recognized religious freedom. However, the Penal Code adopted in 1890 restricted practices described as magic, spiritism, or unauthorized healing. These laws were often used against Candomblé communities. Police interrupted ceremonies, arrested religious leaders, and seized sacred objects. In some regions, terreiros needed police permission to hold ceremonies. Conditions gradually improved during the 20th century. Religious leaders, scholars, artists, and Afro-Brazilian activists helped make Candomblé more visible. After Brazil's military dictatorship ended in 1985, movements for racial equality and religious freedom became stronger. The Constitution of 1988 gave greater protection to freedom of belief and religious practice. Candomblé ceremonies and festivals increasingly appeared in public spaces. Communities that had once survived through secrecy began openly defending their identity and rights. Religious intolerance today. Legal recognition has not ended persecution. In 2024, Brazil recorded 2,472 violations related to religious intolerance. Candomblé and Umbanda were among the most affected religious communities. Terreiros have been vandalized or destroyed. Sacred objects have been damaged. Priests and priestesses have received threats. Practitioners have faced discrimination in schools, workplaces, neighborhoods, and online. Afro-Brazilian religions are still sometimes described as witchcraft or Satanism. Because this hostility often targets traditions connected with African heritage and Black Brazilian communities, many researchers and activists call it religious racism. According to Brazil's 2022 census, Roman Catholics represented 56.7% of the population, while evangelical Christians represented 26.9%. Umbanda and Candomblé together represented about 1%. Despite their small number of followers, these religions remain frequent targets of discrimination and violence.
What Candomblé teaches us.
Candomblé shows how religious and cultural traditions can survive under extreme pressure. Africans and their descendants protected their beliefs by adapting them. They used Catholic images when those images offered safety. They preserved knowledge through music, memory, and ritual. They built terreiros to support both religion and community life. Candomblé did not survive by remaining unchanged. It survived by protecting its central traditions while adapting to new conditions. Today, its ceremonies continue in Salvador, Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, and many other communities inside and outside Brazil. What colonial authorities tried to suppress has become a living religion that continues to pass its knowledge from one generation to the next.